Alright, quick one. Windy Nook parkrun. Got to be the hardest parkrun in the northeast, not because of how difficult it is, just because it's so always bloody on. Doesn't matter what the weather is. Everyone who turns up, got to be pretty hard to do this one, especially on a day like this. So if you look on the map, you see it's basically no other parkruns on apart from this because of the snow. So there's lots of it on gravel, and you can also cut on the grass. Supposed to be some icy patches, but we'll try and dodge those, stay on the grass and keep out of trouble. Windy Nook parkrun, just outside Gateshead in the northeast of England. Today's run takes place at the Windy Nook Nature Park. It's a former limestone quarry. It's been transformed into a unique and surprisingly challenging parkrun course. Windy Nook parkrun is a 3-lap trail-style 5k with a mix of paths, grass and some sharp climbs and steps along the way. It's definitely not the flattest parkrun out there, but that's exactly what gives it its character. As an example, this parkrun typically sees around 30 runners each week. However, this week, due to the number of cancellations, there were over 300 runners and walkers there. Course record is just over 17 minutes, which shows how difficult it is, while the average finish time usually falls around the 29 to 30 minute mark, reflecting the tough but rewarding nature of the course. The park itself sits on the edge of the old quarry, with great views across Gateshead and Newcastle on a clear day. Really feel like you're running somewhere a little bit different, quite rugged and far removed from the city, despite it being so close. Windy Nook parkrun is a brilliant test of strength, pace and determination, and like all parkruns, it's powered by an incredible group of volunteers and a welcoming local running community. Let's see how today goes. Okay, we'll follow around the first kilometre, then we'll speed up a little bit. Just talk you around the first lap, and then we'll skip towards the end and see what's happening. Really important bit here though, when we get towards the steps, you'll see the guy in front of me nearly takes like a big tumble. I did put a separate video about this on TikTok, but it's worth hanging on just to see that bit, and then we'll speed it up and carry on a bit. So what we're actually running on here is like a gravel path, slightly covered with snow. Best option down here is probably to nip onto the grass. There's a little bit at the bottom here where the rule is you've got to run around the lamppost rather than cut the corner, so I think everyone still observed that today, even though it was a little bit slippy. This guy in front of me here with the shorts is the guy to keep an eye on when we come near the steps, and you'll see him take a little slip. So we've basically got to the bottom of the course here. Now everything's uphill all the way back to the top. And then we have to do about 3 laps of this. So we'll follow around the first lap, and then we'll skip it over a little bit and then see what happens near the end. As I mentioned before, there's usually about 30 people here, but this week there's about 10 times that amount. So the course is pretty busy, which you'll see later on when we start to overtake people on the second and third laps. So we've come up to the icy bit here. This is where the marshal's tried to do the right thing, and he's basically put a cone, which everyone thinks they've got to run around, but actually he's put a cone on top of the black ice. So actually everyone is now standing on the ice and slipping over. So watch the guy. Brilliant save there, he nearly ended up in the bushes. Usually on that corner you basically cut the corner, but they put some branches there to make you go around it and then go around the cone, which was basically on the black ice, you were guaranteed to slip. So on the future laps around there especially, we made sure we cut the corner on the grass rather than going on that icy bit. So we're speeding it up a little bit here. We'll get around the first lap. So as you can see, it's all the way back up the hill. Quite steep this bit, non-stop climbing until you get to the top. When you do get to the top up here, you do have great views of Newcastle and Gateshead over to the east. Just over to the right hand side as we're going up the hill here. On the first lap only, you take this right hand corner and you go down here, a little bit of a downhill, and you go around this little triangular shaped loop. Now on the second and third laps you don't come down here. At the top you just take a left and continue, so it's just the first lap's a little bit longer. It's really great to see so many people out on the course today. As I say, not usually so many out at Windy Nook, but it's great for the volunteers who put loads of effort in to actually turn out and make sure that they put this race on. So it's great for them, it's great for everyone else, brilliant for the area. So now you can see the guy who had the slip starting to catch up with us again. On the final lap we'll take a right turn there down towards the finish. So now we've skipped on to the last lap, so you'll see here when we come to the top of the hill, now we take a left and we go down here. So I'm following the guy with the orange jacket on and the yellow hat. I think the guy with the shorts is a little bit in front of him. So basically trying to keep up with those two, but they are going pretty fast downhill, so there's no chance of catching them up. I don't think there was anyone close behind us, so I just kept on going. Weaved through a few people here on the final bit. And this is where you take a right and you go back down to the finish. So it's basically the same place where you started. So I clocked a decent time there today. It was only 20 seconds off my PB, considering the conditions. I wasn't really trying for a PB because it was so blink nicey. Pretty good result. Summary stats of the race will come up there at the end. Windy Nook parkrun done. Not a bad one to start off the day. Literally freezing. Sheets of ice everywhere. Bit of snow on the top, so that's probably why they didn't call it off, but pretty dodgy.